Welcome to 21st Century Dating Decoded. We're making modern love simple. Get ready to decode your love life. Brought to you by Speed Mingle.
Look at your bedroom tonight. Just stand in the doorway for a second and really take it all in. Is it, a romantic sanctuary? Or, if you're being brutally honest with yourself, has it slowly morphed into this transactional utility room? I'm Alice, and alongside me is our resident expert, Zach. Today we are taking a deep dive into a really fascinating stack of clinical sleep studies, behavioral research, and relationship therapy insights. It's titled Single or Married: The Bedtime Habits Wrecking Your Love Life.
Yeah, and we usually point the finger at these massive, earth-shattering stressors when a relationship starts to lose its spark, right? Like, people blame the crushing weight of financial pressure or, the absolute chaos of raising kids.
Right, the big stuff.
Exactly. The fundamental shifts in long-term life goals. And while those are certainly massive challenges, the science points to a much quieter, far more insidious culprit. We're looking at the micro-behaviors that happen in the shadows, like literally in the shadows.
Wow.
Yeah, we are talking about the specific habits that occur between the exact moment you get into bed and the moment you actually fall asleep.
And we're going to unpack all of it because, well, the physical space itself is where this entire unraveling begins. Your environment totally dictates your psychological state.
It absolutely does.
Historically and even biologically, the bedroom was intended to be this dedicated space for restorative sleep, emotional reconnection, and intimacy. But modern life has essentially staged a home invasion on that space. Let's look at the work-life leak, which is wild.
Yeah, the work-life leak is so common now.
Right. You picture the bedroom, and there's a laptop sitting right on the nightstand. There is a stack of mail or maybe some tax documents on the dresser. Or, because of the shift to remote work over the last few years, you might actually have a standing desk wedged right into the corner of the room.
Wedged right in there, yeah.
And looking at it, it seems completely harmless. It's just furniture and hardware. But this completely alters your nervous system, doesn't it?
It totally does.
Yeah.
When you bring the artifacts of your professional life into the space where you are supposed to rest, you're basically keeping your central nervous system trapped in a state of cognitive arousal.
Like it can't shut off.
Right. Your brain acts as this constant pattern recognition machine. It's always scanning your environment to tell your body how to behave. So when your eyes land on that laptop, even if the lid is closed, your brain associates that physical object with daytime stress.
Oh, man. Just seeing the closed laptop.
Yes, just seeing it triggers deadline anxiety and administrative pressure.
Right.
It actually pumps cortisol into your bloodstream, so your body stays physically tense, ready to answer an email or put out a fire, rather than relaxing. You are locked in what researchers call task mode.
Task mode.
Wow.
So your body literally cannot switch gears into romance mode if your brain detects a threat. And to your primitive brain, that unpaid bill sitting on the nightstand is a modern-day threat.
Exactly. A literal threat.
You cannot transition into relaxation if your body thinks you are still on the clock.
The transition you are talking about requires your parasympathetic nervous system to take over. That's the rest and digest system. But that biological shift, it cannot happen when stress hormones are actively circulating.
It's just chemically impossible.
Right. And the work-life leak is really only one part of the environmental problem. We also have to consider visual clutter. Think about the towering pile of unsorted laundry draped over the chair in the corner.
We all have that chair.
We do. Everyone has a laundry chair. But visual noise creates this low-level chronic stress. When a room feels chaotic or unfinished, it subconsciously signals a domestic chore burden to you. It acts as a physical monument to all the unpaid labor you still have to complete.
A physical monument to unpaid labor. Wow, that hits hard.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And the sources also talk about overparenting the space, which I found fascinating. You walk into the master bedroom, and it looks like an annex of the kids' playroom.
Toys everywhere.
Exactly. There are toys on the floor, baby monitors glowing, kids gear everywhere, maybe an open door policy at all hours where the kids just wander in.
Which is so common.
Right. But treating the bedroom like a nursery completely erases the physical boundary necessary to maintain a couple's identity, separate from their parental roles.
Which leads us directly into the psychological weight of that visual clutter. Yeah. Specifically, what clinicians call the mental load.
Oh, the mental load, yes.
Dr. Simone Buswell's research provides a fantastic framework for this. The mental load refers to the invisible cognitive labor of running a household. It is the planning, the scheduling, the remembering to buy the birthday present.
It's endless.
Knowing when the dog needs its heartworm medication and anticipating that the milk will run out on Thursday. And her research shows this labor falls drastically and disproportionately on women in heterosexual relationships.
It is the constant, unrelenting thinking work. You just feel like a project manager whose shift literally never ends. And that leads to this profound emotional exhaustion.
Totally exhausting.
But the research makes a very specific distinction here about how this exhaustion actually affects desire, which completely reframed the narrative for me.
Yeah, Dr. Buswell's work is brilliant here. She distinguishes between solitary desire and dyadic desire.
Yeah.
So, solitary desire is your private, internal sexual interest. It is your baseline libido.
Okay.
Dyadic desire is the sexual desire you feel specifically directed toward your partner. The overwhelming weight of the mental load doesn't necessarily extinguish a person's entire sex drive.
So they aren't just broken.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They might still have high solitary desire, but the resentment, the exhaustion, and the perceived inequity of managing the entire household, well, that acts as a primary shutdown mechanism for dyadic desire. The attraction to the partner vanishes, even if the general libido remains.
That distinction changes everything, doesn't it? Because it validates why someone might feel totally disconnected from their partner but still recognize themselves as a sexual being.
Exactly. It removes a lot of the shame.
Yeah. I mean, the best analogy for this is trying to have a sensual, candlelit dinner in the middle of a busy office cubicle while the phones are ringing and your boss is tapping on the glass. The environment and the mental checklist are actively fighting your intentions.
That's a perfect analogy. The neurological bandwidth required to feel desire is just entirely consumed by the managerial tasks.
This brings up a major point of pushback for me regarding something we have all heard a million times. We've all heard that famous daytime talk show line, taking out the trash is foreplay.
Oh yeah, Oprah made that huge.
Right. It's been repeated for decades as this ultimate piece of relationship wisdom. But looking at this clinical research, that idea is totally flawed. Taking out the trash isn't foreplay.
No, it's really not.
Desire shouldn't be transactional. Equity in the household, like doing your fair share of the chores, is just the baseline requirement for being a functional adult in a partnership. It doesn't automatically create passion. It just clears the resentment out of the way so that you have the mental space for desire to potentially return.
Spot on. And if we connect this to the broader psychological picture, when one person is managing the entire household and assigning the chores, they are forced into a caretaking role.
And caretaking isn't sexy.
Right. I mean, caretaking is a beautiful expression of deep love, protection, and responsibility. It is essential for raising children or looking after an aging parent. But in the context of romance, caretaking is a powerful anti-aphrodisiac.
Because it shifts the dynamic away from being co-conspirators or lovers, and it turns you into a parent and a child, or a manager and an employee.
Exactly. Desire requires space and autonomy. It requires seeing your partner as a capable, separate individual.
Yeah.
When you are caretaking your partner or managing their daily life for them, it collapses the psychological distance required for eroticism to exist. You simply cannot lust after someone whose life you are actively managing.
Wow. So we have the physical environment cluttered with tasks, and the mental environment cluttered with managerial chores. But then, to make matters worse, we actively invite thousands of outside voices right into the bed with us.
Oh, the digital invasion.
Yes. If the physical clutter wasn't enough, we bring in a digital invasion. The data from the sources is staggering here. Nearly 3/4 of Americans bring their phones to bed with them every single night.
It acts as the single most prevalent spark killer in modern relationships. I mean, the technical term for this behavior is phubbing or phone snubbing.
Phubbing. I love that term, even though it's awful.
It's catchy, right? But when you are lying in bed, scrolling through social media, answering late-night work emails, or doom-scrolling the news while your partner is physically right next to you, you are communicating a definitive message. You are showing that the digital world takes precedence over their physical presence.
It puts up a wall.
Yes, it erects a literal digital wall.
The sources refer to this state as an asynchronous blue light trance. Think about that visual for a second. Two people side by side in the dark, illuminated by the cold blue glow of separate screens. Utterly silent.
It's so dystopian.
It is. It strips away the unstructured downtime where spontaneous conversations usually happen. You lose those micro moments of connection. You know, a shared laugh over something silly, catching someone's eye, a gentle touch on the arm, all because you're both staring at pieces of glass. It makes couples feel more like rooming house occupants passing in the night than romantic companions.
And the chemical component to this behavior is absolutely devastating to intimacy. It involves a mechanism known as dopamine displacement.
Okay, let's break that down for the listener. What is happening chemically in our brains when we scroll in bed?
So dopamine is often misunderstood simply as a pleasure chemical, but it is actually the molecule of motivation and pursuit. Fast-paced digital media, like short-form videos, endless social media feeds, constant push notifications, it is all engineered to flood your brain with cheap, instantaneous dopamine hits.
It's like a slot machine.
Exactly like a slot machine. When you consume this high-octane media right before sleep, your brain's alert systems are activated. Your attention is directed outward, chasing novelty from strangers, celebrities, or global stressors.
So you're totally disconnected from the room.
Totally. And because your brain is being bombarded with this high-intensity stimulation, you become neurologically numb to the slow burn, subtle rewards of interpersonal connection.
Wow. So holding hands under the covers or talking about your day just can't compete chemically with a highly optimized viral video algorithm.
No, it can't.
The human connection feels understimulating because your brain's baseline for excitement has been artificially spiked.
That's it exactly. The slow pace of real-life intimacy feels boring to a brain that is hooked on a slot machine schedule of digital rewards. Furthermore, our psychological attachment styles drive this behavior in profound ways. Technology use in the bedroom is rarely random. It operates as a subconscious tool for emotional regulation.
Well, that is so interesting. How do those different attachment styles play out when it comes to the digital wall?
Take individuals with a dismissive avoidant attachment style. They generally fear engulfment or losing their independence, right?
Yeah.
For them, the phone serves as a literal buffer. It is a shield used to escape the emotional demand of presence or the discomfort of vulnerability. If they have been functioning in management mode all day, holding the phone up is a way to avoid the pressure of intimacy.
Like a do not disturb sign on their face.
Yes. But on the flip side, individuals with an anxious, preoccupied attachment style have a core fear of abandonment. They might use the phone to seek external validation. If they feel ignored or disconnected from the partner lying next to them, they turn to social media for a quick hit of connection or reassurance.
Even if it's completely artificial.
Exactly. It's just a Band-Aid.
The glowing rectangle is either a shield to keep the world away or a life raft because you feel like you are drowning in neglect. But, we need to look at how this impacts the single listener, too.
Why, absolutely. It's huge for singles.
If you're single, you might think, well, I sleep alone so I can scroll all I want without putting up a digital wall against anyone. But the research shows this creates a severe doom scroll exhaustion loop.
The biological impact of the screen does not care about your relationship status. It really doesn't.
You spend hours on a video feed, bathing your retinas in blue light. This absolutely cripples your brain's ability to produce melatonin, which is the hormone that signals it's time to sleep.
It just wrecks your sleep cycle.
Right, so you build up this massive chronic sleep debt. And what does sleep debt do to a single person trying to navigate the dating world? It leads to profound social fatigue. You become anxious, your baseline empathy drops, and you are far more likely to cancel dates because you're simply too tired to engage.
You just flake out.
Yes. And when you do force yourself to go on dates, you start misreading subtle interpersonal cues because your prefrontal cortex is exhausted.
The late night hours, mixed with fatigue and unchecked screen time, well, it creates a perfect storm for poor decision-making for single individuals.
Oh, the late-night texting trap is real. Your inhibitions plummet when you are sleep-deprived. You start overanalyzing dating app interactions. You send impulsive messages. You reach out to that toxic ex at 1 a.m. for validation.
We've all been there.
Or you overshare deeply personal information with someone you just met. It leads to miscommunication and massive morning-after regret that can completely kill a budding romance before it even has a chance to start. It really makes you wonder if we are chemically addicted to these screens or if we are subconsciously using them to avoid the vulnerability of truly looking at ourselves.
Nor the person next to us, yeah. It functions as a profound feedback loop. The addiction provides the easy escape, but the escape is often desired because true vulnerability is difficult. It's unpredictable and requires emotional energy that we feel we just lack.
It's easier to look at a screen.
Way easier. And this raises a fundamental question about the architecture of long-term connection. Like, what exactly makes us desire our partners over the span of years, and how do our bedroom habits accidentally suffocate that desire?
To understand that mechanism, we really need to dive into Esther Perel's framework, which is heavily cited in our sources today. This concept completely reframed how I view long-term relationships. She outlines the paradox of desire, which is the inherent conflict between our fundamental human need for security and our competing need for adventure.
This represents the core existential dilemma of modern love. I mean, as human beings, we require security to function. We want predictability, safety, dependability, and permanence. We want an anchor in a chaotic world. We call this feeling home.
Right, we all want a safe harbor.
But simultaneously, side by side with that need, we have an equally strong psychological need for adventure. We crave mystery, novelty, risk, danger, and the unexpected.
And historically, we sourced these needs from different places. We had an entire village for community support, extended family for security, and different avenues for adventure.
Yes, the burden was spread out.
But now we look at one single person across the dinner table and say, be my best friend, my financial partner, my co-parent, my reliable rock, and also be my passionate, mysterious, adventurous lover. It's an impossible job description for one human being to fulfill.
It really is setting people up for failure. Perel breaks this down by analyzing the verbs we use to describe these states. The verb for love is to have. Love seeks to minimize distance. It seeks closeness, protection, and the neutralizing of all tension. You want to possess and protect the one you love.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the verb for desire is to want. Desire requires a bridge to cross. It thrives on space, absence, and a healthy dose of uncertainty.
Wow. So if love wants to close the gap, but desire needs the gap to exist, our bedtime habits are systematically destroying that necessary gap. We turn the bedroom into what clinicians call the conflict zone.
Yes. Using the bed as the primary arena for litigating relationship grievances destroys both safety and mystery simultaneously. If you lie in bed arguing about finances or going through the logistical schedule for who is picking up the kids tomorrow, you are stripping the space of its erotic potential.
I want to push back on a piece of traditional advice here because for generations, couples have been handed this golden rule: never go to bed angry. It's treated like undisputed gospel.
Oh yeah, everyone says that.
But looking at the clinical data in our sources, that seems like objectively terrible advice. If you force a late-night resolution when you are both exhausted, you turn the bed into a courtroom.
The physiological data completely supports your pushback. Arguing late at night spikes your cortisol and your adrenaline. Your heart rate elevates and your blood pressure rises. You basically enter a fight or flight state.
While you're under the covers.
Exactly. When you undergo this physiological stress response while physically lying in bed, you are conditioning your brain through associative learning. You begin to link the physical mattress with threat, defensiveness, and distress.
So the next time you get into bed, even if you aren't actively arguing, your body subconsciously braces for impact. Your nervous system associates the pillows and the sheets with anxiety, not comfort. The sanctuary literally becomes a battlefield.
It does. Experts recommend establishing a strict environmental policy. The bed is exclusively for rest and intimacy, period. If an argument starts escalating late at night, you must hit pause. You agree to sleep on it, allowing your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical reasoning part of your brain, to come back online after a night of rest.
That is so smart.
Or, if the issue must be discussed immediately, you physically get out of bed and move the discussion to the kitchen table or the living room couch. You have to fiercely protect the sanctuary from the conflict zone.
Okay, so if the conflict zone ruins desire by creating threat, and the mental load ruins desire by creating a caretaking dynamic, what actually sparks desire? How do we build that bridge that you mentioned earlier?
Perel refers to this dynamic as the poetics of sex. Because desire thrives in absence and longing, it is ignited when you are able to see your partner from a comfortable distance.
Okay, but what does a comfortable distance look like in a practical day-to-day scenario, like for the listener?
It involves observing your partner when they are radiant, confident, and entirely self-sustaining. Imagine watching your partner at a social gathering. They are holding court, telling a captivating story, and other people are drawn to them.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Or imagine seeing them deeply enveloped in their element, perhaps playing an instrument, or speaking passionately about their professional expertise. You are looking at this person who is so deeply familiar to you in a domestic setting, but momentarily they become slightly mysterious and elusive again. You see them not as your co-parent or the person who forgot to run the dishwasher, but as an autonomous, attractive stranger navigating the world.
That autonomy is completely magnetic. It goes back to what we unpacked earlier. Needing someone is a shutdown for eroticism. When they are holding court at a party, they don't need you in that exact second to manage their life. They are radiant entirely on their own.
Exactly. Autonomy is the oxygen that the fire of desire needs to breathe. However, to even experience those moments of connection, Couples have to actually occupy the same physical and temporal space. Which brings us to another massive structural issue in modern relationships, the temporal and physical disconnect.
Yes, asymmetrical sleep schedules and bedtime drift. This occurs when one of you naturally leans toward being a night owl and the other is an early bird, or your work shifts simply don't align.
It happens so gradually.
Over time, you stop going to bed at the same time. The research indicates this causes the loss of something vital called the bookend effect.
The bookend effect is a crucial daily touch point for human connection. The 15 to 30 minutes right before sleep is a unique psychological window. Evolutionarily, it is the time of day when our defense mechanisms naturally drop.
We let our guard down.
Right. The armor we wear to face the stress of the outside world comes off as we prepare for rest. When partners skip this shared ritual by going to bed hours apart, they deprive the relationship of predictable daily window for quiet vulnerability.
You completely miss out on the pillow talk. You miss the debriefing of the emotional high points of the day. And critically, you miss the non-sexual physical touch. When you drift apart in your schedules, you create incidental distance. You slowly start living like roommates passing in the hallway.
And the decay of physical touch is incredibly damaging.
It really is.
In the initial stages of a relationship, physical affection is abundant, spontaneous, and entirely non-transactional. You hold hands walking down the street, you hug in the kitchen, you casually touch each other's shoulders while watching television. But as routine set in and the mental load increases, that touch often vanishes.
Or it mutates.
Yes, or it mutates into something else entirely. Transactional touch.
Let's define transactional touch, because this is a trap so many people fall into without realizing it.
Transactional touch means that physical contact, like a shoulder rub, a long kiss, spooning in bed, only ever occurs when one partner wants it to escalate into sexual intimacy.
Got it.
The touch is no longer about comfort. It becomes a prelude, a means to a specific end.
And the receiving partner immediately senses that hidden agenda. The analogy I use for this is the annoying acquaintance who works in sales. If you have a friend who only ever calls you when they want to pitch you a product, and they never call just to see how your life is going, eventually you stop picking up the phone.
You just ignore the calls.
You start to resent the ringtone. If touch only happens when someone wants sex, the receiving partner starts to feel pressured and cornered. They put their physical guard up.
They begin to build physical calluses. They retreat defensively from all physical contact to avoid sending what they fear will be interpreted as false signals.
That is so sad, but so true.
If they accept the shoulder rub, they feel obligated to have sex. So they reject the shoulder rub entirely to maintain their boundaries. This creates a severe physical rift. The somatic connection required for long-term trust and desire is entirely severed.
But let's bring the single listeners back into this equation, because solo sleep habits create a very different kind of physical disconnect. Single people often develop what the research defines as extreme territoriality.
Oh, this is a big one.
When you sleep alone for an extended period, you optimize your environment entirely for your own comfort, often as a substitute for emotional security.
You build a fortress of individual habits.
Exactly. You might need a true crime podcast blaring to fall asleep. You might sleep diagonally across a king-size mattress with 3 large dogs taking up the center of the bed.
Guilty as charged.
Right. You require the fan on high, the thermostat at exactly 62 degrees, and heavy blackout curtains. You develop incredibly rigid habits because you have total environmental control.
Which is perfectly fine for individual sleep quality, honestly, but it's catastrophic for relational integration.
Because when you finally meet someone and transition to those early relationship sleepovers, it creates severe environmental incompatibility. You can't sleep because they need silence and you need the podcast, and they can't sleep because your golden retriever is kicking them in the ribs.
It causes intense friction.
Yes, and irritability during a stage of the relationship that is supposed to be romantic and bonding.
This friction really highlights the fact that human sleep is deeply social. We tend to view sleep as an isolated biological necessity, but historically, it is a relational activity.
That's a great point.
If you neglect your sleep environment or allow it to become rigidly isolated and fortified, you sacrifice the patience, flexibility, and emotional resilience needed to integrate another human being into your life.
Okay, so we've thoroughly diagnosed the decay here. We've looked at the work-life leak, the mental load, the digital wall, the conflict zone, and the loss of non-transactional touch. Now, how do we practically fix it? How do couples or singles preparing for a relationship break this cycle without it feeling incredibly forced or awkward? Let's talk about reclaiming the sanctuary.
The very first step requires a major cognitive paradigm shift. We have to completely discard the myth of spontaneity.
Oh, this is a tough pill for people to swallow because of our cultural programming.
It really is. Hollywood and romantic literature feed us this idealized notion that passion should just strike like lightning out of a clear blue sky. But clinical experts agree. In a long-term, committed relationship, relying on a deus ex machina of spontaneous passion to suddenly overwhelm you while you're paying the mortgage or folding laundry is a doomed strategy.
It's just not going to happen.
No. Intimacy in the long haul must be premeditated. It must be intentional, willful, and highly focused.
I'll admit, I usually push back heavily on this idea of premeditated sex. Doesn't scheduling intimacy completely kill the romance? It sounds like putting a dental cleaning on the calendar. Tuesday at 9 p.m., engage in romance. It feels clinical and completely devoid of mystery.
That is the most common resistance to the concept for sure. But consider the alternative framework. When you first started dating your partner, wasn't every single date scheduled?
Well, when you put it like that, yeah, absolutely.
You planned the exact time, you chose the specific location, you anticipated it all day while you were at work, you took a shower, and you got dressed up specifically for that encounter. That was highly premeditated.
It totally was.
And yet it felt incredibly romantic and thrilling. Creating a dedicated space and time for intimacy and actively protecting it from the mundane chaos of life is actually the ultimate romantic act. It communicates, you are important enough for me to clear away all the noise and focus entirely on you.
Wow, that completely flips the perspective for me. It's not a chore on a checklist. It's an active prioritization of the relationship over the distractions. So, what are the actionable steps to build this premeditated space and reclaim the sanctuary?
Step 1 is instituting a 30-minute tech curfew. This is absolutely non-negotiable for reclaiming the psychological space. 30 minutes before your intended sleep time, all screens, phones, tablets, laptops are parked outside the bedroom.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. Or, at the very least, plugged in across the room on a strict do not disturb setting. You replace the dopamine hit of scrolling with reading a physical book, listening to music, or engaging in direct conversation. This mechanism allows the brain to lower its cognitive arousal, signaling to the nervous system that the workday is over, and allowing your attention to transition inward toward your partner.
That makes total sense. And that leads directly into step 2, the pillow talk protocol. I find this concept brilliant in the sources. They outline this as a shared 15-minute wind-down ritual. Even if you have those asynchronous sleep schedules we mentioned, say you go to sleep at 10 p.m. and your partner stays up reading in the living room until midnight, your partner still gets into bed with you at 10 p.m. for these specific 15 minutes.
It preserves the bookend effect, ensuring that daily touchpoint of vulnerability remains intact. And there are strict conversational rules for the pillow talk protocol. It must be an emotional debrief, not a logistical one.
No chores allowed.
Exactly. You are explicitly forbidden from talking about the mortgage, the kids' carpool schedule, or unresolved arguments. You ask about their internal world. You ask, what was the best part of your day? Or, what's been weighing on your mind lately?
And crucially, you have to maintain a somatic bridge while having this conversation.
A somatic bridge means maintaining some form of non-demanding physical contact. Holding hands, resting a hand on their leg, or simply resting your feet against each other. This reintroduces the microaffections we discussed earlier. It signals physical safety and connection without the pressure of it having to escalate into sex. Over time, this slowly rebuilds the physical trust that transactional touch destroys.
But what if the physical proximity itself is the root of the problem? What if one partner snores like a freight train, or has restless leg syndrome, or is a chronic blanket thief who ruins the other's sleep? The sources go into depth about alternative sleep arrangements, and there is a huge cultural discussion around the sleep divorce.
The term sleep divorce is highly sensationalized by the media, and honestly, quite damaging to couples who really need it. It carries a massive social stigma. People automatically assume that if a couple chooses to sleep in separate rooms, their marriage is failing, and lack of intimacy is to blame.
Which is deeply ironic because, as the research points out, that stigma is actually rooted in old Hollywood censorship. The Hays Code era of television and movies in the mid-20th century literally forbade showing a married couple in the same bed to protect moral sensibilities.
It's wild to think about.
Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz slept in twin beds on TV, even though they were passionately married in real life. We went from that extreme puritanical view to the modern extreme where sleeping apart is viewed as a relational tragedy.
The clinical reality paints a very different picture. Up to 30% of your sleep quality is dictated by your bed partner. If you are chronically sleep deprived because of your partner's snoring, tossing, or varying body heat, your prefrontal cortex becomes severely impaired. Your emotional regulation drops, your baseline empathy vanishes, and your irritability skyrockets.
You literally become a monster.
Biologically, you become a worse partner during the day. Therefore, clinicians attempt to reframe the sleep divorce as a sleep separation, or even better, a sleep alliance.
A sleep alliance. I love the collaborative nature of that term.
It is a mutual strategic agreement to prioritize high-quality rest so that both partners have the energy, patience, and mental bandwidth to be loving and present when they are awake. Choosing to sleep in separate rooms for health reasons is an act of preserving the relationship, not ending it.
But for couples who absolutely want to stay in the same room but are struggling with comfort, there is an incredible compromise mentioned in the data, the Scandinavian sleep method. This method solves so many practical issues.
It is a brilliantly simple structural solution to a complex behavioral problem. You share the same mattress, maintaining the physical closeness, but you use two separate single-sized duvets or comforters. And critically, there is no shared top sheet to bind you together.
It instantly ends the midnight blanket tug-of-war, and it solves the thermoregulation problem that plagues so many couples. If I am always freezing, I can have a heavy down comforter. If my partner runs hot, they can have a thin, breathable blanket.
Exactly.
We get individualized comfort. We aren't waking each other up by pulling the covers, but we still have the physical proximity to reach over and cuddle when we want to. It provides autonomy within togetherness.
The Scandinavian method perfectly illustrates the broader theme of this entire deep dive. Reclaiming the bedroom sanctuary requires intentionality. It is about taking passive, default behaviors, like staring at a phone in the dark, or fighting over a shared blanket, or letting laundry pile up in the corner, and replacing them with deliberate, affirmative choices that actively protect the connection.
It's about treating the space with respect, which translates directly to treating the relationship with respect. And honestly, if you are single and feeling trapped by that doom scroll exhaustion loop, you have to find ways to replace that digital noise with real-world connection.
Which is why structured, face-to-face interactions are so vital for breaking out of the isolation that screen time creates.
Speaking of structured interactions, if you are tired of the dating dark ages and endless text threads that lead nowhere, you need to check out the Speed Mingle concepts to completely upgrade your social portfolio. They offer a diverse suite of tools for every lifestyle to get you out of the blue light. If you want authentic, face-to-face video interactions from your own private setting, you can use Speed Mingle anywhere. Or if you're looking for relaxed, spontaneous connections, Speed Mingle Social hosts informal weekly gatherings at local venues.
Finding connection outside of the digital wall is just essential for relational health.
Absolutely. And if you hate awkward small talk, Speed Mingle Happenings offers meticulously curated, activity-based events for natural engagement. It's not just about romance either. Speed Mingle Neighbors is designed to turn local strangers into friends with high-energy community-building events. For the professionals listening, Speed Mingle B2B uses a high-octane, round-robin format to maximize your networking efficiently. And keep an eye out for Speed Mingle 1-to-1, launching summer 2026, offering personalized, low-pressure meetings with pre-vetted matches.
Returning to our core topic, this raises an important question for everyone listening. The habits we've discussed today are insidious precisely because they are so ordinary.
They just sneak up on you.
But ordinary habits compound over time. The slow drift into a roommate dynamic doesn't happen overnight. It happens one distracted, cluttered bedtime at a time. So, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over tonight.
What is the challenge for the listener?
If you treated your bedroom as a truly sacred space for just 30 minutes tonight, what outside voices would you finally have to shut out to reconnect with the mystery living right next to you? Or if you're single, what digital noise and territorial walls do you need to dismantle to rediscover your own peace before inviting someone else into it?
That is a powerful challenge to take into the evening. A massive thank you to our expert for guiding us through the mechanics of this incredibly eye-opening research. Take the initiative today. Attend a local Speed Mingle event in your area or contact Speed Mingle directly to become a host or event venue. And never miss a strategy or reality check. Subscribe to 21st Century Dating Decoded at 21stcenturydaytingdecoded.com. Listen to us on the go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, or Deezer. You can also watch premium video content on SpeedMingle TV, available on YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or via the brand new mobile app at speedmingle.mobi. So tonight, look around your bedroom, kick the laptops out, plug the phones in across the room, and ask yourself, is this a utility room or a sanctuary? Until next time, remain deliberate, maintain protection, and consistently date with a defined purpose.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Speed Mingle Network.